Level 1. The Favour. You're a third-year graphic design student at a state school that costs more than your parents make in a year. Financial aid covers tuition. It doesn't cover anything else. You work 4 shifts a week at the campus dining hall, scraping trays and mopping floors that smell like bleach. You go back to your dorm at midnight while the rest of the floor is still out. You hear them through the walls. The Smart Path is the one you're on. The Smart Path pays $9.50 an hour. Your roommate from Connecticut has a credit card with no limit and goes out every Thursday. You know this because you hear him leave. You know what time he gets back because that's when you stop being able to sleep. Your roommate Kyle loses his fake ID on a Thursday. He asks if you can make him a new one. He's half joking. You look at the photo he still has on his phone, the one from the original, the way you look at any design problem. You see the layers. You see the font. You see the microprint running along the border. You see a document that a graphic designer built, and you are a graphic designer. Kyle goes to bed. You open Photoshop. You find a template on a hobbyist forum. The template is garbage. Wrong font, wrong spacing, wrong color on the state header. You fix it. You fix all of it. By 4 a.m. you have a template that matches his state license better than the one he lost. You print it on Teflon paper with the inkjet you bought for coursework. You cut it. You run it through the Laminator. You hold it next to Kyle's real license. It's not perfect. It's close enough that a bouncer checking IDs at 11 p.m. in a dark bar isn't going to catch it. Kyle takes it out Friday. It works. He gives you $40 and a 6-pack. Your first payment. 1 beer in, he tells 3 people. Those 3 people tell 3 more. By Monday, you have 11 requests in your DMs at $40 each. That's $440. You make $9.50 an hour at the dining hall. $440 is 46 shifts of scraping pasta off trays. You say yes to all 11. You buy more Teflon paper. You order a dedicated card laminator secondhand for $40. The one Kyle owns leaves edge ridges that catch light wrong. You spend $62 on materials and clear $378 in the first week. You keep the dining hall shifts. The dining hall is your cover, and your cover is what keeps you invisible. Invisible matters when you're committing a felony in a building owned by the state. By the end of semester, you've made 18 IDs. $720 total. You keep a waiting list in your notes app. You work through it in order. You use the campus design lab after midnight. You have a department access card, and nobody checks the Saturday night logs. The IDs aren't good. They pass at dark bars where bouncers are 22 years old and moving a line. Nobody is looking at the microprint. Nobody is holding the card under UV light. You are producing something that works in the specific context it gets used in. You know exactly where it holds and where it doesn't. You are not thinking of this as an operation. You are thinking of it as a favor that pays. The people on the waiting list are classmates. The bars they're using the IDs at are 3 blocks from campus. You tell yourself the worst case is a 19-year-old gets cut off at the door. You buy better paper in month 3. You spend an afternoon with a loop studying the microprint on your own state license. The repeating text in the border, the font weight, the spacing. You watch tutorial videos on PVC card printing. You take notes. You are becoming very good at this. Your professors say you have a strong eye for detail work. You don't tell them where you've been applying it. You don't think of any of this as a warning. Kyle hands you the first $40 folded in half, 2 20s. You put them in a shoebox on the shelf above your desk. You keep putting money in the box after that. You didn't start it as a decision. It felt right to keep the money separate from the money in your wallet. You didn't examine that at the time. The box is on the shelf when they execute the warrant. Evidence, item 7. $4,200 in cash. The 2 20s from Kyle are somewhere in the middle of it. Level 2. The side income. The first request from outside your college comes on a Tuesday. Someone's roommate at a different school heard about the ID through a mutual contact. She wants a Texas license. You don't know her. You'll never meet her. She sends the photo and the details through Instagram to a name you made up at 2 in the morning. You can't use the campus lab anymore. Your college, your face, your access card in the log. One complaint from a staff member working late, and the trail is short. You price the risk correctly and stop. You spend $340 on a Zebra card printer, refurbished, from an electronics resale site. You add a UV printer attachment for the holographic overlays, the ones that shift color when you tilt the card. You spend a week developing 4 state templates. You pick them based on request volume. the states that students from out of state most commonly need, the licenses that bouncers in this city are least familiar with, the formats that give your setup the most room to work. You charge $150. Payment comes in through Venmo to an account in a name that isn't yours. Then someone mentions in a forum thread that Venmo stores transaction records and shares them on request. You move to Cash App. 3 weeks later, you move to crypto because Cash App also has records, and someone in the thread points that out, and you read the whole thread twice. Kyle collects the photo submissions and delivers the finished IDs for his campus. You have a similar arrangement with Danny at another college across the city. You've met Danny twice, once to explain the arrangement, once to pass him a batch. You don't know Danny's last name. You don't want to. You only need to know that he picks up on Thursdays and doesn't ask questions. You never interact with customers. You receive a photo and a date of birth and a state selection. That's the transaction. The person the ID belongs to doesn't exist to you as a person. They exist as a file name and a set of specifications. This helps more than you expect it to. By the end of month, you have made $14,000. You move it out of the shoebox in batches and into a savings account you opened at a credit union across the city, different bank from your personal account, different suburb, account in your actual name because you don't yet know enough about financial crime to know that's a problem. You file nothing. You declare nothing. You are still enrolled. You still go to critique on Wednesday afternoons. You still submit your portfolio projects. Your grades are not suffering. Your concentration is not suffering. If anything, your eye for technical detail has sharpened because you have spent more hours in the past 4 months looking closely at the structure of ID documents than most forensic examiners see in a semester. 2 tracks. You run them alongside each other, and they don't touch. The person who sits in the design department on Wednesday afternoons and the person who runs a card printer in his dorm room at midnight are not reconciled because you have not tried to reconcile them. You have kept them separate the way you kept the money separate from your wallet. Because keeping them separate means you don't have to decide what either one of them means. You make one change in month 5. You stop using your own dorm room. You move the printer to a storage unit you rent on the other side of the city. $80 a month, cash, a different name on the rental form, which is the first time you've used a false name in writing on anything, and you notice that your hand doesn't hesitate. The IDs coming out of your setup are now better than anything available at the same price point. You know this because 2 people have sent you photos of their friends' IDs from competing sellers and asked you to match the quality. You look at them under the loop. You are not threatened. You are better, and you know exactly why and exactly what you would need to do to get better still. You don't stop to think about what it means that you are comparing your work against the competition. You have a waiting list of 40 names and a system that is working and a savings account with $14,000 in it, and a Wednesday afternoon critique in 2 days, and none of those things feel like they belong to the same life. They do. You'll find out when. Level 3. The operation. Month 7. You move out of the dorm. The apartment is a 1-bedroom with a second room you use as the production space. Nothing personal goes in the production room. No coursework, no textbooks, no food. Just the equipment and the orders and the $40 laminator from month 1 sitting in the corner because you never threw it away. The Zebra printer was $340. The Matica is $2,800. You buy it refurbished from a commercial card equipment supplier in Ohio, paying with a prepaid card loaded from 3 separate ATM withdrawals over 2 weeks. The Matica is what card manufacturers use. The output is indistinguishable from a DMV print run under standard inspection. You tested it against 4 state reference cards from a document verification database you found through a closed forum. You sourced genuine PVC cardstock from the same supplier the Matica was designed to run. You buy a UV flatbed printer for the over-laminate holographic overlays. You spend 2 weeks calibrating the magnetic stripe encoder until the cards scan correctly at every reader type you can test against. The customers have changed. Not all at once. Gradually, the way most things shift, one request that's slightly different from the last, then another, then the new version is the normal version. In month 1, the orders were for students who wanted past a bouncer. In month 7, the orders are for people in their late 20s who want a second license in a clean state. People who need a secondary identity document for a reason they don't explain and you don't ask about. You don't ask because not asking is how the arrangement works. The photo comes in. The specifications come in. The card goes out. What happens after is not part of your operation. You hire 2 people to handle the customer side. One takes orders through the Telegram channel. One handles delivery. You never speak to a customer. You never see a customer. The Telegram channel is encrypted and the messages delete after 48 hours, and you are an order number in a production queue and nothing more to anyone who uses it. 8 states now. 14 active templates. Standard orders are $600. Same week is $1,200. Next day is $2,000. You process 15 to 20 orders a week. You are making $20,000 a month. You are 22 years old. You have not attended a class in 6 weeks. You drop 2 modules in month 8 with a medical deferral you filed online in 4 minutes. You have not thought about this as a problem because the savings account has $47,000 in it, and the production room is running clean, and the 2 people you hired don't know each other's names. There are 3 things you don't know. 3 of your cards have passed TSA document checks at 2 different airports. 1 card was used 4 months ago to open a savings account at a regional bank in a name that doesn't exist. A fraud flag was generated at that bank and forwarded to a federal document fraud unit that keeps a file on exactly this kind of thing. The orders keep arriving. The $600 customers are not all trying to get into bars, and you have known this for a while, and you have not examined what it means because examining it would require you to stop, and stopping would mean the account stays at $47,000 instead of growing, and $47,000 is not a number that makes you feel finished. You tell yourself the quality is the issue, not the use. You tell yourself you make the card, and they make the choice, and those are 2 different things. The production room doesn't know what the cards are used for. The Matica doesn't ask. The encoder doesn't care. The holographic overlay shifts in the light the same way regardless of where the card ends up. You have built something technically excellent, and technically excellent things work, and what they're used for is downstream of the thing itself. This is the argument you make to yourself at 1 a.m. when the production queue has 12 orders and the Matica is running a batch. The argument doesn't hold. You know that. You keep running the batch anyway. They aren't 2 different things. You know that too. You just don't let yourself get to the end of that thought. Level 4. The document ring. Month 14. A contact reaches out through a mutual you've never met in person. He represents a man who needs something different from a driver's license. Work authorization documents. Social security cards. He has 12 people who need complete identity packages, license, SSN card, supporting documents that pass a standard employment verification check. He's offering $4,000 per package. You say yes. Before that moment, the charges you were facing, if it ever came to it, were state level. Fake ID, document forgery, misdemeanor to felony depending on jurisdiction and volume. Serious, but manageable. The kind of thing that gets negotiated in a state courtroom with a good defense. After that moment, the charges are federal. Document fraud. Identity fraud. Conspiracy. The Secret Service investigates document fraud. Not local police. Not campus security. The Secret Service. They are very good at it, and they have been doing it for longer than the internet has existed. You don't know any of this when you say yes. What you also don't know is that 6 weeks earlier, a man who ordered a standard driver's license from your Telegram channel was arrested at a traffic stop in a state where he had no record. The officer ran the license. It came back as belonging to someone else, someone in another state who had reported their identity stolen 8 months prior. The man at the traffic stop gave up your Telegram username in 40 minutes. The Secret Service opened a channel surveillance operation that same week. They have been reading every message for 5 weeks. They have your order volume, your price tiers, your delivery schedule. They have been building the case while you have been filling the queue. Danny cooperated on day 2. His lawyer filed the agreement before you knew there was anything to file against. Danny testified for 40 minutes in a federal building downtown and went home. His lawyer billed $400 an hour for a total of 6 hours, and Danny walked away with probation and no conviction on his record. They execute the warrant on a Tuesday morning. You are in the apartment. You answer the door in the light blue t-shirt you slept in. The production room has the Matica printer. 340 blank PVC cards in a box on the shelf. 23 state holographic overlay sheets in a folder. A hard drive with 14 months of orders, every template, every customer photo, every delivery confirmation. And in the corner, where it has been since month 1, the $40 Laminator. Not illegal to own. The forensic report will match its lamination pattern to 23 recovered cards submitted as evidence. The shoebox is on the shelf in the bedroom. Evidence Item 7. $4,200 in cash. Production of false identification documents, document fraud, conspiracy, aggravated identity theft for the work authorization packages. You cooperate. You give them the contact. You give them everything on the hard drive they don't already have. You get 22 months. You're 22 years old. You'll be 24 when you get out. The judge says the number. The math does what it does. Kyle gets deferred prosecution. Community service. His conviction is expunged after he completes the service. Kyle walks at commencement in May. Kyle is at an ad agency in New York at $75,000 a year. Kyle posts about it. You see the post. Kyle collected the photos. Kyle delivered the IDs. Kyle walked. You get out on a Thursday. You move back to your parents' house. You sleep in your childhood bedroom. The posters are still on the wall. Your graphic design degree is unfinished. You apply for design jobs. Nobody hires a convicted felon for a position that requires trust with documents. The irony is specific and permanent. You get a job at a print shop. $14 an hour. Business cards. Wedding invitations. Real estate flyers. The printer is the same model you ran in the apartment. The laminator is the same brand. The cardstock is identical. The muscle memory is identical. The purpose is different. The purpose is the only thing that changed. Danny is in his second year at UT Law. Your mom still has the birthday card she sent you 6 months before the warrant. The one where she said she was proud of how hard you were working. The one that came with $20 inside. The one you sent that $20 to the shoebox. It's in the kitchen drawer. She never threw it away. You found it last week looking for a pen. You held it and read it, and the $20 she put inside was gone because the $20 went into the shoebox and the shoebox was seized, and the $20 your mom sent you to celebrate a promotion that didn't exist is in a federal evidence locker in a building downtown. That's the math. That's always the math. The math takes everything, including the things that were honest.